story. Truth tells it right. You wear the hurt, you wear the lies. But a warrior learns what to leave behind. Name the wound, name the fear, then look at dead and call it clear. 1, check the light. 2, cut the knot. 3, fast and tight. 4, hold your spot. 1, check the light. 2, cut the knot. 3, fast and tight. 4, hold your spot. Belt of truth, hold fast. Belt of truth, hold fast. What broke you back then won't lead you now. Belt of truth, hold fast. Belt of truth, hold fast. Stand the truth out loud. Stand your ground. First real example, you heard you fail. Truth says you fail, you can still heal. Second example, they called you weak. Truth says you bleed, but you still speak. Third example, shame said hide. Truth said walk, keep your head high. Fourth example, fear said freeze. Truth said move, get on your knees. Fifth example, you're alone. Truth says no, you're not unknown. Sixth example, they won't stay. Truth says love still makes a way. 1, check the light. 2, cut the knot. 3, fast and tight. 4, hold your spot. 1, check the light. 2, cut the knot. 3, fast and tight. 4, hold your spot. Said I'm too far gone. Truth says no, the work goes on. 8, I missed my chance. Truth says stand, take one more stand. 9, I can't forgive. Truth says you can, that's how you live. 10, I'm not enough. Truth says run, you're built for tough. Built of truth, hold fast. Built of truth, hold fast. What broke you back then won't lead you now. Built of truth, hold fast. Built of truth, hold fast. Tell the truth out loud. Stand your ground. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Real life, real fight. Keep your mind clean. Passing it up, walk it out. No passive talk, just the work now. Ooh.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So it is June, which means it is Female Veterans Awareness Month. And
Okay.
it is also PTSD Awareness Month.
Hey, that it
It is
is.
the quiet thing that we don't hear about till it's too late. We actually had a law enforcement officer succumb to his struggles last week,
Yeah, man.
which gave me the idea for today's show, which is talking about labels, talking about PTSD and how society has is using them as a label to keep us stuck, keep us down. You wear it as a badge of honor to make you feel better, but that's only temporary because the struggles are struggles. And we're being told over and over again that these struggles, you're stuck with it for your whole life, which is not true.
Well, to a point. I mean, you have good days, you have bad days. We all have good days, we all have bad days. And, but we can, uh, we can overcome them.
Hmm.
Like the old Beatles song says, I get a little help from my friends. You just got to find those who you trust enough to talk to. And that's the big thing. trusting.
And that's also where faith comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
And the more research I've been doing, the more things, how much the Bible tells us and warns us, yes, you could say. When you're confronting that silent enemy, it keeps us struggling. Weaponization as labels that makes us who our identity is. Diagnoses are meant to help us, to help define where we're struggling, to give us a roadmap to overcome it. But instead of it being empowering for us to overcome it, we end up laying down to our labels.
Right.
But you got to remember, you're a child of God, created for victory. We are not designed to be stationary. We're designed to overcome.
Right.
And it's time to wake up to that truth. And you look at Romans 12:2, it instructs us. It tells us exactly, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by renewing your mind.
And that's the big thing, the renewing of your mind through Christ Jesus.
No, the transformation begins when we refuse to let external definitions dictate our internal reality. And that's a big part of it is saying, okay, yes, I have this label. Now, what do we do with it? Now, how do we overcome the struggles? It's not about passive motivation. It's about active formation. We're good. And this is where we go through and look at how to call out those limitations and the intentional living grounded in truth and integrity and faith.
Yeah, life is not stagnant, that's for sure.
This is where, we first step is to begin to unmask the subtle. And this is one of the most powerful steps because labels become weapons, they become identities. You have a diagnosis like PTSD, which is meant to be a map to guide to understanding and healing. But we internalize these labels, society internalizes these labels. You see it everywhere. And so they become that self-fulfilling prophecy. We
Mm-hmm.
reinforce subconsciously the negative self-concept, fostering that victim mentality that we are just stuck.
Yeah, the enemy
And
likes to. Uh,
go ahead.
if the enemy can keep you separated from from everything and everybody, okay, then that makes him look stronger. But whenever you stand up and decide you're going to not take the easy road out, but you're gonna be a warrior, then he doesn't look so strong anymore.
When
Because
you
there's
think
safety in
back to
numbers.
there is, and it can be hard to find the right group or the right people to reach out to, and there's so many support groups out there. But when
Yep.
you think back to boot camp and you think back to your military days, you recited the ethos and your general orders over and over again
Mm-hmm.
to the point that it became automatic. You know, always put the mission first, never accept defeat, never leave a man behind. Now take those three and put them internally to yourself. And I do this. This is what I do personally. Is I recite these all the time when I struggle.
Yep.
Mission. Create that mission. That mission is to overcome. You control the triggers. The triggers don't control you.
Right. Me, I'm
Don't
just
accept defeat.
passionately curious.
Hmm. Well, and don't always, don't accept defeat. Never quit. Don't lie down to that label.
Right.
Or set that mission to, as you're overcoming that label. And you're always, in life in general. Think back before military. You had bad days. You had good days. And that's how we keep going. Because you unknowingly surrender to our power to a diagnosis. You don't realize it until, you really start to think about it. And this is where you have to prepare that counteroffensive. It's limiting beliefs, limiting grip, that you're stuck. You look at John 8:32 and reminds us that then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. It is.
Might make you mad first, but it'll definitely set you free.
Mhm. But does it make you mad, or does it make you want to rally?
At first, um, it might
But
make
don't
you
we
want to
use
run.
anger? But if you think back to, your time in the military or in boot camp or whatever, we use that anger to rally us,
Hmm.
that extra set of adrenaline to keep us going. And this is where you're asking yourself, we're putting that armor back, as we're putting that armor back on, you know, is this the truth? Not any label that ultimately defines us and sets us free, you know. And that is the cool part of how our brains work. Our wiring, our neuroplasticity, we get so focused on the new concepts of like generational trauma. It's just a fancy word of saying shit rolls downhill, a
Yep.
reoccurring cycle. It used to be we talked about it in child abuse. You got spanked as a child, you spank your child, things like that. And it used to be reworded as break the cycle, overcome. But now we have been pulled down so far that we are messaging to follow the cycle and accept it than it is to overpower it and overcome it. And now we need to change the narrative.
Every there's labels around everybody. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, some good, some bad, but uh, even saying, yeah, you're a warrior, that's a label,
Hmm.
but it's a good label because it makes you uh, it makes you want to win the battle. Or at least it does to me.
Yeah.
Whenever we're talking, we're not just talking with uh, like we've never been there. We are talking from experience, and we talk with the smoke of battle around us from the very thick of the fight. That's us. That's
Hmm.
you. That's me. That's Rick. Yeah.
We all struggle. And I've been very open about my struggles,
Yeah.
and reaching out to the VA for help during COVID and being told, well, we don't have anyone right now. We'll call you. COVID's long gone and over, and I'm still waiting for a phone call.
Hmm.
But that's what basically gave me the boot in the butt to be able to look at alternatives, look at different ways to overcome where I was struggling. It helped me see how to pick myself up. You know, my biggest trigger was smoke. I couldn't be around fires, I couldn't be around barbecues. I'd get sick, physically sick. And now that doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
I
so
do
like
have
me and
some bad
candles.
days. Yeah, uh, I do have bad days once in a while where, it'll coincide with an event where, it'll hit me a little bit, but not to the point that I'm in a full panic. I used to be 4th of July, I'd hide out in my garage, drink a whole heck of a lot, crank the music and play darts. So I didn't have to listen to the fireworks.
Yep.
Now I buy them and shoot them off.
Yeah, it's confronting your fear. And fear actually comes from uncertainty because you can't eliminate the fear within if we don't know ourselves. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. That's where my struggle right now, and I'm working on overcoming my last big issue, that's driving. Right now,
What?
I don't drive.
You don't drive?
Nope.
Okay, why?
I used to get
No.
really severe panic attacks in the car. Stem from
Oh.
a IED incident and blowing up,
Hmm.
and then come home, ended up in a really bad car accident when I was pregnant with my daughter. And so I just, you know, I now to the point that I can handle being in the passenger side. I can't sit in the back seat, but my goal is by fall to renew my license and get a car and go back to
Hmm.
driving. I do not drive. I don't go out when it's storming, when it's raining, snowing. A lot has to do with a lack of control.
Uh, the one thing everybody seems. I used to say in 2005, I got hit by a tractor trailer. And in 2008, I got hit by a drunk driver head on. And I used to say, somebody's out to get me.
Hmm.
Well, I stopped saying somebody's out to get me and started saying I'm out to get somebody else because I am here for a purpose. Just what that purpose is, I'm not sure yet, but I wasn't. Um, I didn't survive just to be average, so I should stop acting like it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So that's whenever I started uh, after my massage business went, I had to get rid of it because nerve damage in my hands and arms. I couldn't do massage anymore, and so I went back to work with the federal government. Loved it, but um, after I retired from that, then I'm still passionately curious. So I wanted to see how can I help other people. I love helping people. You know, and so what I did was I wrote down my mission statement. It says I am an igniter of purpose to inspire, challenge, and encourage people to break free from ordinary living and mediocrity to live a life full of abundance and fueled by curiosity, awakening purpose and encouraging and empowering them to continue to grow into the life they were meant to live. You're not meant to be um, quiet,
Passive.
passive. That's it. Life is not defined by when you start, but defined when you decide to stop holding back.
Hmm. And that's the thing is that it's part of your story. It's part of, but it's not the whole story.
Right.
And we tend to let it be our story. You know, it's to remember our past, but it doesn't define our present or our future. We're
It's all
not
part of
merely
your
survivors.
testimony, right?
That's it. And that's where Philippians 4:8 comes into play. You know, and it encourages us to focus on what is true,
Yeah.
noble, right, pure, and it's not about being broken or being defined by somebody else.
Right. Not letting
Then you
somebody
got
else define your life.
exactly. Psalms 139, verse 14 reminds us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And it isn't just defensive, but it's actively engaging with a mindset of a divine design. Inherent worth, knowing that our true identity transcends any earthly label. And this is where you
But
got to be
how?
mindful. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say whenever you said that, uh, but how many people were? Excuse me. They say, "Yeah, I believe in heaven. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. You know all this, and all this will be taken care of whenever I get there." Well, you're gonna have work to do whenever you get there, the way I look at it, the way I see it. But um, we we have a tendency to sit on our thumbs waiting for heaven to come whenever heaven is already here. We have to, we're the ones that have to bring it. Does that make sense?
It does. We become we look at the Bible differently than what we're supposed to.
Yeah.
People tell us we have to pray more, we have to believe more, that things will be fixed. We've done something wrong, our faith isn't strong enough, which is why bad things happen to us.
You're right.
There's nothing that says that in the Bible. Okay.
I
First and foremost.
know.
But waiting for heaven as an active, hopeful expectation. But it's not a passive event. It's supposed to be an active event.
Exactly.
James 5:7-8 compares the wait to a farmer waiting for precious crops, urging believers to establish their hearts. First Peter 1:13, instructs believers to set their hopes fully on future grace, but keeping their mind ready for action. Look at Philippians 1:6. Promises that he began a good work in you will begin in completion. Then you go in farther into Philippians into 2:12 and 13. Work out your own salvation precisely because it is God who works in you.
Right.
There's nothing that says that he's there to guide you. He's there to help you. Yes, you will get this salvation at the end, but there's nothing that says you sit here passively. And this is where putting that helmet, learning how the helmet works and putting that helmet on. It's not defensive, it's actively engaging with a mindset of divine design.
Right.
Knowing what our true identity is that transcends any earthly label. You focus on what is true and praiseworthy, and you reject the negative that fuels the labels.
Mm-hmm. Scripture tells us that the kingdom of heaven is not passive, because you have to take it by force.
And then we get into this mindset that we have to fix ourselves.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
But if you look at Ecclesiastes 4, 9, and 10, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either one of them falls down, one can help the other up. The Bible talks about support systems. It talks about groups, systems. The first thing Jesus does is, what does he do? He finds his disciples. He finds his own group to help him.
His tribe.
Mhm. And when you do, find your buddy system, you want to find people who will speak the truth, challenge those beliefs, and remind you of your strengths.
Mhm.
They're willing to tell you things you don't want to hear.
Right.
I
Shall
tell
hear the
people every day,
truth and it'll make you mad.
yeah, I don't need a yes man.
Right. Of course, I don't need to be taken down uh, a road of my faults either. I already know what they are.
True, but you walk that fine line of, all right, that's
What am I going to
all
do
how
about
you word things.
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing is, instead of focusing on the problems, you're focusing on the solution. In the military, we are always focused on a solution.
Right.
And this is part of where we struggle so much in transition in the civilian world. Me and Rick talk about this a lot. We get frustrated because we're watching people do the same stupid thing over and over and over again, keep banging their head against the door.
Mhm.
Everything needs a committee. Everybody needs an opinion. And in the process, you're still doing the same stupid thing over again, over and over, trying to fix it. We are focused on solutions. We
And
fix the
that's
problem.
insanity.
It is. I walked away from a lot of committees because I just could not deal with staring at a group talking about a problem and no one does anything to fix the stupid problem.
I know. I know. Yeah. But we have, the the warrior's code. The way I look at it is every sunrise brings a new field of battle, whether it's against enemies, hardship, or ourselves. Right?
Hmm.
We have to understand that no matter what day it is, where it is, or who it is, every sunrise brings a new battlefield. I mean, if you watch the movie Gettysburg,
Hmm.
um, Joshua Chamberlain, he was the colonel of the 20th Maine. Uh, he was wounded at Gettysburg, and he suffered with that wound for all his life. But he never said anything. Um, the crazy thing about it was, uh, he wanted to go to Bowdoin College in Massachusetts. I think it was Massachusetts, Maine, and they wouldn't accept him because he didn't speak German. So he learned German. He taught himself German. Went in the army. Became colonel of 20th Maine. Understood the men, and then um, after the war between the states ended, he went back to Maine, and he became uh, the president of Bowdoin College.
Hmm.
So he's a inspiration, and that's what each of us have has to do, because we, like I said, uh, every day brings a new battlefield, and every day we're going to have two choices: either choice of regret or choice of fight. Right?
That's it.
Personally, I choose to fight. It's a lot more. It's a lot more fun.
And that's what we got to look at too, fun.
Right. I may not be able to
People,
do everything, but I can do something.
well, we get put down a lot because you end up with a morbid sense of humor.
Morbid?
Hey, I enjoy my twisted sense of humor.
Yeah, so do I.
But you got civilians who take it the wrong way.
Well, that's too bad.
Well,
That's
and
the
that's
way I
what we
look at
gotta,
it.
accept that and understand that and like don't care.
Right. I told my grandson that kind of stuff, and what's he do? He goes, "But who cares?" And then I start, and then my son starts, and we're in the restaurant doing this. People just looking at you like you got three heads, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. I go, "But who cares?"
That's it. I was like, and we lost that Ed for a minute there. You know, and this is where we step into fear interruption, engaging the permanence. The fear that often accompanies labels like PTSD is the fear of permanence, the belief that these struggles will last forever and that healing is impossible. The fear is a weapon designed to keep us stuck. We interrupt this fear by confronting it by faith, remembering Romans 8:37. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. When fear whispers that we are permanently broken, faith declares that you are more than a conqueror. It's a conscious choice to replace the lie of permanence with the truth of God's redemptive power. A shift from victim mentality to victor's mindset. Second Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power of love and the sound mind. This divine endowment empowers us to confront and overcome the fear that labels attempt to install. And then this is where we go into, redirection and purpose. And this is the most crucial shift from allowing a diagnosis to dictate our future to embracing our divine assignment. It's about moving beyond merely coping with a label and actively pursuing growth. This direction involves recognizing that our experiences, even the most painful ones, can be redeemed and used for a greater purpose. Philippians 4:13 reminds us, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Our past struggles, once seemed as liabilities, can become powerful testimonies and tools for helping others. It's about, understanding that God can transform our wounds into wisdom, our pain into purpose, and our labels into platforms for his glory. You know, go, it is freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then and not let yourself burden again by a yoke of slavery. This is our call to freedom from the bondage of labels. And you got Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plan to prosper you and not harm you. Plan to give hope and future. Our future is not defined by a diagnosis, but by God's sovereign good plans. And finally, your counteroffensive. Having unmasked the weaponized labels and realigned with your true identity, you are now equipped to move forward. Reject the limiting power of labels, embrace your identity, and actively pursue growth. This week, identify one small, disciplined action you can take to challenge a limiting belief with labels that, it could be speaking a truth from scripture over yourself, seeking out a support group battle buddy, or intentionally focusing on an area where you've experienced growth despite struggles. You are not defined by what has happened to you, but by who God says you are and what He is doing through you. Your commanding officer has given you a mission to victory. Thank you for joining us.